Human Impact on Oceans, Part 1. I could recognize human dependence on ocean systems and explain how human activities have modified these systems. Look at the pictures. What are 3 ways that humans depend on ocean systems? So you can see food, transport, and recreation. Read the text below. Name 3 human activities that have modified ocean systems. Recognize human dependence on ocean systems and explain how human activities such as runoff, artificial reefs, or use of resources have modified these systems. Ocean resources. Humans depend on the ocean for a variety of resources and uses. Select 3 of the following and research how we use or depend on the ocean for each. Click on the link above to get you started. So choose 3 of these, and then on the next slide, this is where you're going to type your answer. So if you choose humans depend on the ocean for food, you would type it here, food, and then you would explain how we use the ocean for food.
Many people look at the ocean and they see water. It's not just water, it's alive.
The largest mountain ranges on the planet are beneath the sea. The deepest canyons are beneath the sea.
The oceans gives us more than half of the oxygen we breathe, regulates the climate, give us all the seafood and recreational opportunities.
It's our life support system. Every breath we take, every drop of water we drink, we're connected to nature, especially to the ocean.
The oceans cover 72% of the planet.
12% of the land is protected in national parks or reserves. In the ocean, less than 1% is protected.
We're sort of a little creature living on the back of this much larger creature. But we've now reached a point where we can actually do harm to our host. And I don't think people realize that the Earth is so vulnerable.
We've lost 90% of the big fish in the sea. We've seen a decline of coral reefs and a growth of dead zones.
People have the ability to make history, to create positive change. We need another revolution. We need a healthier planet.
So again, these are how we depend on the ocean. We depend on the ocean for water. Desalination of the ocean provides a source of fresh water. We depend on the ocean for food. We harvest marine organisms for food. Some parts of the ocean are used as commercial fisheries. Some ocean organisms, such as large algae and seaweed, are used in the manufacture of food. We use the ocean for transportation. The ocean is used to transport items from continent to continent. Recreation. Ocean recreation includes boating, swimming, and surfing. We use the ocean for oxygen. Ocean autotrophs provide us with oxygen. We use the ocean for natural resources, like oil, gas, minerals. They're derived from the ocean. Oil spills. A major source of ocean pollution is from oil. Oil spills and leaks come from oil tankers, oil wells, runoff from land spills and leaks into the river and underground watershed from industry, oil refineries, storage facilities, and believe it or not, the deliberate oil pollution. Oil coats the ocean surface, seabirds, fish, and marine mammals. It washes ashore and destroys shoreline habitat. Vast numbers of plants and animals die, and entire fishing industries have been destroyed.
Last summer, in the heart of New Orleans, a 600-foot tanker collided with a 200-foot fuel barge, tearing the barge in half. Several 100,000 gallons of oil leaked out of the barge and into the fast-flowing Mississippi River, heading quickly towards the ocean. The oil spread down the river in minutes, immediately threatening drinking water intakes and wildlife. Responders sprang into action within hours of the accident. Using computer models and weather forecasts, they determined the path of the oil spill. With helicopter surveys, they assessed the damage and dispatched cleanup crews. Specialized boats with oil collection devices on their bows were sent to the scene. These devices, called skimmers, act like vacuums across the surface of the water. Hundreds of trained workers clean riverbanks and marshes using an unexpected tool: pom-poms. Noxious fumes from oil harms animals that can't avoid it, and others can be covered in it, leading to suffocation and death. Birds that get enough oil on their feathers eventually lose their ability to fly, and oiled sea otters can suffer from hypothermia. When oil spills occur, it can shut down beaches and fishing grounds. It can also lead to public evacuations. Environmental disasters can be prevented if cleanup efforts begin immediately. While large oil spills like the one in New Orleans last summer contribute to oil pollution, the ocean suffers from far more than the occasional spill that hits national headlines. In fact, hundreds of millions of gallons of oil end up in the ocean every year, and only 5% of that is from big spills. Most people don't realize that oil residue on roadways and oil dumped into storm drains are the #1 source of oil pollution in the ocean. For the sake of humans and animals, let's keep oil out of our ocean.
So let's use the information provided from slide 5 on oil spills to complete the table below. So our issue here was oil spills. What's the cause? Accidents, deliberate. So when you have these oil spills, it can affect wildlife such as birds and fish, drinking water, fishing grounds, and then possible solutions you're going to write here. Now, how do you clean that up? Where you have immediate cleaning crews would be a possible solution. Limit the runoff. So on roads where we have that oil and debris, after it rains, the rain picks up the oil and the debris from the roads and goes into the ocean. So that's the greatest cause, is on runoff. So if we could decrease runoff into our oceans, that would be the best. Overfishing. Overfishing occurs when the quantity of fish harvested exceeds the amount that can be resupplied by the growth and reproduction. Factory ships from around the world haul fish out of the ocean in huge quantities. Illegal fishing, dirty fishing practices include poisoning reefs, using dynamite to kill and stun fish. Dirty fishing and overfishing are destroying the fish.
The world's oceans are the biggest source of food for the whole planet. Almost 35% of the world's population gets most of their protein from ocean animals. It seems unlikely that this vast resource could ever run out of the creatures we catch to feed ourselves. But although seafood markets around the world appear to be full, they hide a crisis: overfishing. Overfishing occurs when fishermen catch more animals than the oceans can sustain. And it changes the environment in other ways too. In Jamaica, fishermen laid down a huge net around the bay. This traditional method of fishing used to feed a whole village. But now, because of overfishing, there are fewer fish, and those remaining are smaller.
When I came here about 15 years ago, I used to see fish all around the quay. Big fish, big parrot, big snappers, big groupers.
But not anymore. And having only small fish in the oceans causes big problems. Small fish produce fewer eggs. That makes it hard for fish populations to grow. And small fish are more likely to have small offspring. So fish size cannot increase either. Overfishing has also changed the kinds of fish fishermen catch. These aren't the choice fish they used to take to market. Instead, they're the little fish the big fish used to eat. All in all, overfishing adds up to one sad fact: the world's oceans can't sustain the current level of fishing. But we still need to fish.
But we have to fish because that's what we live from, fishing. And if there's no fish, no food on our table.
Fortunately, something can be done about the ocean's downward spiral. In many places across the world, countries and communities are setting up marine reserves. In a no-take reserve, like this one in Jamaica's Pedro Bank, no fishing is permitted for a number of years. This allows adult fish and other creatures to reproduce in greater numbers. Small fish grow to adulthood and become big fish. Bigger fish and other animals spill over into the ocean around the reserve, where catching them is permitted. And that's good for fishermen. Marine reserves are big projects that yield impressive results for fisheries. But there are steps everyone can take to help protect the oceans. Catch only what you need, but no more. Follow local fishing rules. Never catch creatures during their breeding seasons. Know your seafood. Understand which animals are sustainable and where they came from. Give creatures a chance to breed. Choose larger ones. Don't destroy animal habitats like coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangroves. And don't use destructive fishing gear. Overfishing has taken a heavy toll on all the animals we catch to eat. Fish and other ocean populations can recover and feed future generations, but only if we take steps now to look after our planet's greatest shared resource.
Let's use the information provided from slide 8 on overfishing to complete the table below. So our issue here is overfishing. And what's the cause of overfishing? Well, here you don't give enough time for fish populations to reproduce and replenish, so it's not sustainable. The effects, you have a decline in biodiversity because you're just harvesting fish randomly of all different species. An increase in price of seafood is the effect of overfishing. A decrease in the amount of energy available for ocean ecosystems. Possible solutions is making marine reserves, no fishing zones, only taking what you need to protect our fish and oceans. Artificial reefs. Artificial reefs are man-made habitats built from various materials, including rock, old ships, heavy-gauge steel structures, concrete, and prefabricated modules. Artificial reefs provide food, shelter, protection, and spawning areas for hundreds of species of fish and other marine organisms. They also provide alternate areas for use by scuba divers, anglers, reduce the user pressures on natural reefs.
Coral reefs are one of the biggest biodiversity areas in the world, more so even than the rainforest. And everywhere in the world, coral reefs are in trouble. Artificial reefs have been demonstrated, when they're clean, to bring proper environmental benefits to the already stressed natural reefs around the world.
There are no longer living reefs. There are very few of them left. But when we can go and sink something like this, it's amazing how fast marine life will adhere to it and become its own natural reef and natural ecosystem.
Big ships like the Vandenberg or unique vessels like the Clamagore present real challenges to adventure sports people.
Going and putting habitat back in the ocean that can have sea life grow on it and be an attractor for fish, that also makes it great for fishing and diving.
In time, the boat's going to become colonized by marine invertebrates, and they build a home. And smaller creatures beget bigger creatures, and all that has to be part of the ecosystem. We want to make sure it's safe for all those creatures.
Like a train stop in the Old West. Soon there's a bar and a hotel, and then a city builds up around it. This is what the fish are looking for too. Before the Vandenberg was there, it looked like the surface of the moon. Now, it's 2 football fields long and 10 stories tall. There are 200 species of fish that are living on the Vandenberg that weren't there before she was deployed, and invertebrates in their uncounted millions. The Clamagore is unlike any artificial reef ever attempted. The teams that we have assembled have been responsible for the most economically successful and environmentally successful artificial reefs anywhere in the world.
Every ship or boat that we look at, we evaluate it to see if there's going to be hazardous material. We check for the wiring, the surface material, which would include paint, insulation, sound deadening materials.
All that stuff needs to be pulled out, cleaned, and made inert, so that we're doing something positive for the environment and not putting something in there that could be a detractor.
A lot of these vessels went down in the war, and all the hazardous material went down with them.
Some people will tell you the jury's still out on artificial reefs. It is not. The jury's in, it's been in, they work. I drank this Kool-Aid a long time ago, so I'm a big fan.
So here we're going to use the information provided on slide 10 on artificial reefs to complete the table below. So here we have artificial reefs. Okay, what are the causes of artificial reefs? Well, they're man-made structures that we sink in the ocean, and the effect of them, they provide habitat for fish species and corals. In possible solutions, it replenishes ecosystems by giving a habitat, a structure for these organisms to grow. So now here for your digital journal entry, you're going to write to me, oil spills and overfishing have a negative impact on the ocean because artificial reefs have a positive impact on oceans because, and you'll type your answer there. I hope you enjoyed your lesson.